So we're out here at night talking about Canadian Prepper's latest video, where he's talking about DEFCON 2. He discusses GPS jamming, MIRVs, the release buses, targeting systems, and the fact that this source is leading him somewhere. But the source is actually leading him to a destination that is not based in reality. And there's several reasons for that. The first reason is ICBMs navigate primarily through celestial navigation, where they have fixed stars they use to navigate. That way they're not susceptible to GPS issues, jamming, EMP-related jamming, and electronics. So when we look at ICBMs and sea-launched ballistic missiles, they were designed to operate in an EMP environment. And in a nuclear war, the forces were built so that they could operate in an EMP environment. Because once a nuclear war starts, they knew the ionosphere would be charged by all the charged particles from nuclear detonations, EMP bursts, and other types of weapons. And they knew that for 24 to 48 hours, you would not be able to use conventional communications, GPS systems, any of that crap. So troposcatter systems were invented to bounce particles around in a charged particle environment in order that signals could migrate around the globe by bouncing off of charged particles. This was the old method for communicating after a nuclear war had started. So what you would do is wait for the ionosphere to clear, and then you could communicate via troposcatter. They also knew that all of the ABMs that the Russians and the US used had nuclear payloads on them. So in the 70s and 80s, they knew full well that the intercept missiles would actually create EMP above the United States and Russia. So in effect, we would be EMPing ourselves as these detonated in low orbit and high orbit. That's why nuclear weapons were not intended to primarily work off of GPS. So you had celestial navigation, which we already talked about. You had terrestrial navigation, which is basically you're comparing via TV camera a film strip to a path on the ground that you photographed either via satellite or reconnaissance aircraft. Today, that's all digitized, and it operates in a hardened digital comparative optical system. Now, the other one is inertial guidance. And what that does is it follows a trajectory from point A to point B, and it corrects based on going off of that trajectory via ground information that it can see or celestial navigation hooked into that system. So what we learn is strategic nuclear forces, whether they're emptying a bus, targeting MIRVs, they don't primarily use GPS. And that's why, because in a charged particle environment, GPS wouldn't be working. Now, we go to the HARP, which is High Altitude Auroral Research Program. That is based on Tesla technology and also the technology of Townsend T. Brown. I personally knew and had many discussions with Townsend Brown before he died. And I can't say that for most of the people on the planet. And High Altitude Auroral Research Project is based on two things. One is putting energy at certain points of the globe or atmosphere. The other one is using magnetic ley lines to transfer and transmit that energy. So if you go back to Project Argus, they used nuclear weapons to test those theories in the 1960s. That was one of the last nuclear tests they did in the 60s, was Project Argus, where they would detonate a nuclear weapon, produce EMP, it would follow magnetic ley lines, and it would come down on the other side of the Earth where that ley line intercepted the surface of the planet. So what we see is this person is feeding Canadian Prepper flawed information or incomplete information in order to get him to provide a public conclusion that is not basis or reality. So please share your thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.